Welcome to Belgro's Funeral Home, where we celebrate life's precious moments. From the moment you enter our doors, you're met with kindness and care. Our reception area is designed to be more than just a waiting room. It is calm, thoughtfully created to ease the weight of grief. In our private conference room, conversations are guided by empathy. Here, our client experience coordinators sit beside you, not just across the table to help plan a service that truly reflects your loved one's story. Whether it's a traditional farewell or a personalized celebration of life, we take time to understand your wishes and offer thoughtful guidance. At the heart of our organization is a dedicated manager who ensures that everything runs smoothly, from the smallest detail to the final farewell. We understand that choosing a casket or a coffin is a deeply personal decision. In our selection room, we provide a calm, respectful environment where families can take their time and explore options that reflect their loved one's life, beliefs, and preference. Our spacious chapel is where memories are honored and lives are celebrated. Designed with serenity and warmth, it provides a welcoming space for families and friends to come together in reflection and remembrance. For families choosing cremation, we offer on-site professional cremation services in a setting that upholds dignity, peace, and confidentiality. Our crematorium offers a seamless and respectful alternative to traditional burial, giving families flexibility while maintaining the highest standard of care.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning. Good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. It is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. My name is Akinlabi Holder and it's good to have you here with us. Yes, we are ready for the show this morning. I hope that you are up, you have your drink, you are well fed, and you're ready to tackle the day's work ahead. Yes, we are blessed with another day, ladies and gentlemen, viewers. We have another day. This is another chance, another opportunity to make a difference in the lives of those around you and make a difference in your own life. So get up and seize the day. Carpe diem. Yes, seize the day today and make the best of it. We have a very exciting show lined up for you all. We have a variety of things to talk about today. But before we get into any of that, we go to our news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Akinlabi. Here's your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, 23rd September 2025. Tobago's new eastern terminal at A&R Robinson International Airport moved a step closer to completion with a high-level tour yesterday. The visit included Airports Authority Chairman Aaron Henry, THA Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, Liaison Coordinator in the Prime Minister's Office Ashwood Jack, board members and senior managers. The tour underscored the THA's role as a key stakeholder and marked Augustine's first on-site engagement. With critical airside works ongoing and NIDCO's transition to the authorities underway, officials pledged close collaboration to ensure the terminal's timely commissioning and full operations. Up next, former PSA President Watson Duke has been denied conditional leave to appeal to the UK Privy Council in his pension dispute with the union. Justices of appeal ruled his case and raised no issue of general public importance. Duke resigned in 2021 to serve in the Tobago House of Assembly and later sued the PSA for allegedly breaching his contract withholding pension payments. He sought an injunction citing financial hardship, but the court overturned it, noting undisclosed gratuity payments, pension eligibility with WASA, and risk of irreplaceable harm to the PSA. And finally, the annual Republic Day celebrations will begin with a morning 3K and 5K run, followed by cycling and aerobics. The Republic Day route march will begin at 9 a.m. from Lamy Road to the Sid Gray Sporting Complex. Cultural showcases, both regards of music and traditions, will highlight Tobago's heritage before the fireworks at the Roxborough waterfront to close the festivities at 8:30 p.m. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you very much, Biana, for that news in 90 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, we now head to our birthday shoutouts. Yes, our birthday shoutouts. And at Tobago Updates, we like to celebrate with those who are celebrating, no matter what the celebrations are. And we start our birthday shoutouts with saying happy birthday to Miss Deandra Murray. Happy birthday to you, Miss Murray. Today is your special day. Yes, we pray God's richest blessings on your life. We pray that your friends and your family, the loved ones, they shower you with love and care and show you much appreciation. Yes, today is the day that you've entered the earth and you became a blessing to others. And we pray God's richest blessings for the next upcoming year. Move forward to Mr. Rondell Edwards. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Edwards. Yes, today is your birthday. Celebrate, jump up, take a dance, take a drink, eat some food, have a good time today. But remember to thank God for preserving you to see another year and always put Him first in everything that you aspire to do. And finally, in our birthday shoutouts, we have a birthday blessing going out and we have a message here. Birthday blessings to our daughter, O'Shea George. Love and continued blessings from her parents, Oswald and Rhea George, and family. So happy birthday to you, Miss O'Shea George. God's richest blessings upon you. And we hope that in the next coming year, everything that you do, you put the Lord first, you put your mind to whatever you want to accomplish, and that everything else would flow in abundance. Anything that you're celebrating, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, anything that you are celebrating, we want to celebrate with you. So send whatever you're celebrating to Tobago Update and we will celebrate. Yes, we will share it with the world on the World Wide Web and we will celebrate with you. Now, I mentioned to you that we have quite a diverse cast lineup today for the show. So this morning we're going to have on Miss Rihanna Hossein Razak, who is the team lead of the adoption unit of the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. And they're coming in to talk about child adoption awareness. Yes, child adoption awareness. We had them on, I believe it was last week, where they spoke about the adoption services and all the different services that you can access through the Children's Authority. After that, we're going to have Miss Nikisha Porter, who is the PRO of the Bella Forma Golf Club. And she's going to be talking about the Tobago Ladies' 4th Annual Golf Tournament. And finally, we're going to have on Paula Daniel Linton, who is the Assistant Secretary, and Cindy Stewart Lewis, who is the Supervisory Committee member. And they're going to be talking about Aero Services Credit Union's 75th Anniversary celebrations. So we have quite exciting lineup for you all this morning. But before we get into any of those conversations, we need to take a break. So do us a favor. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back after these messages.
With Flow Business's new smart solutions, powered by super fast, reliable broadband, you'll feel like there are more versions of you working for you. From website design, development, and digital marketing to promote your business, 24/7 business class support to cloud solutions, security, and more. Multiply your growth today.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships. It's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, buljoil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, and we have on the line with us this morning Ms. Rihanna Hossain Razak, who is the Team Lead Adoption Unit of the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, and she's online to speak with us about child adoption awareness. Last week, I believe it was, they spoke to us about foster care awareness. And now they're back on to speak to us about child adoption awareness. Good morning and welcome, Ms. Hossain Razak.
Hi, good morning. Just wanted to confirm you're hearing me.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so just let us get into the, just tell us, what is child adoption about?
Okay, so to put it simple, Children's Authority is the only organization that can process an adoption order or to process an application for adoption. So adoption, to put it simple, is the legal transfer of all parental rights from biological parents to an adoptive parent. So once that order has been granted in court, that adoptive parent will be responsible for meeting all of that child's needs. They are now considered in the eyes of that child's parents.
Okay, and in terms of Trinidad and Tobago, what is the adoption rate like in Trinidad and Tobago? Do you see a a prevalence of it in Trinidad and Tobago, or is there a shortage of willing families to take in these children?
So it's hard to answer that question because predominantly in Trinidad and Tobago, we process mostly adoptions for what we call the open adoption, which is persons who already either related to the child or familiar with the child. So the both parties, the birth parents and the adopted parents, may have some sort of relationship. So we predominantly get a lot of applications for open adoptions. We do get a lot of applications for what we call closed adoptions, which is persons who may not, either have a child in their care or they already have a child in their care and they want to open their heart and home to someone, to another child. So those persons will go through the entire process, be placed on our list of suitable persons, waiting to be matched with a child that's free for adoption. With respect to those particular persons, they will never have any interactions with the birth parents. It's not known to them. The child wouldn't know necessarily beforehand, who is going to adopt them. They have to go through the entire process. And we may not necessarily process a large majority of those applications, but we do get a lot of persons interested in that part of the process as well.
And for persons who might be thinking about becoming an adoptive parent, could you just speak to them as to what it means to be an adoptive parent?
So to be an adoptive parent, it's a very commendable act, somebody willing to accept a child that's not biologically theirs. You're opening your heart, your home to someone that is, either of no relation to you or accepting the responsibility of that as a parent. So you will now be responsible for meeting all of that child needs, making sure they have access to, to school, to medical needs, psychological needs. Sometimes, you may have a child that presents with behavioral challenges and it may, require some patience, some love, some understanding. But it's truly a commendable, service and act for somebody to, be willing to go through, because it's not a straightforward, easy process by no means. It is a thorough process. It is a multi-step process. It's very much a legal and legislative process. So, I always say and commend persons who are willing to go through everything in the end to provide a loving, stable, permanent home for a child.
You mentioned that it's a very thorough process. If you could just walk us through what that process looks like and tell us what are the requirements one may need to become an adoptive parent.
Okay. So persons could go to our website, where that is www.ttchildren.org, to access the adoption tab. Once you go on that tab, you will find our application forms. So persons are invited to download the forms, complete the forms in its entirety, and all the supplemental documents are listed that you are required to attach. So we do require financial statements, we do require a job letter, because we need to know that you're financially stable. We will require a medical evaluation. Persons are subject to undergo a psychological assessment as well as a background check. We get in contact with persons who, you would have identified as your references, because we need to speak to your character and, get testimonials to speak on your behalf. The caseworkers that are assigned will go through the entire process with the applicants. They will explain it in detail, provide support as needed. Persons will undergo, a series of clinical interviews. A caseworker will come to your home. They will make sure the property is safe and secured. And all of that information is compiled into one document that will be presented to the adoption committee, who will ultimately approve the adoption of the application of that person. And then it goes to court for a person to file to get an adoption order granted.
Now, you stated a number of things that person really have to go through in order to be able to adopt a child. In your experiences working with persons applying to be an adoptive parent, what have they said is the most difficult of all those phases in terms of getting through to become an adoptive parent?
I would say persons largely say that, the amount of steps and the wait time, the time frame from start to finish, persons, may find that it's a bit of, it's a bit of a lengthy process, that, maybe we ask too much, that they thought that, you submit your application, maybe it might have been just a 1 or 2 interview and then that's it. But it's a process that can take an average of 3 to 6 months once persons submit their documents on time, that there are no issues outside of our control in processing that application, but persons find the wait time to be a bit long, as well as persons may also say they went through the whole process, they are approved, and they wait until be matched with a child that meets their profile, and they might find that process is a bit long waiting for and for whether it's a year, a couple of years or so, and they're wondering, well, why am I not being matched with a child, or what's happening?
So, when it comes to adoption, persons generally tend to lean more towards wanting to adopt babies. Is there, in terms of in the system, are there a lot of babies up for adoption?
No. So we do not have a lot of babies for adoption. Persons often assume that, well, they see a lot of children in children homes. So, they assume that, well, y'all have all these children homes, why y'all not placing, children with families who are on the list? But the reality is, within those children homes, one, we don't have babies often available for adoption. And to be available for adoption, a child must be freed for adoption, which means that the birth parents have to give consent to free this child for adoption. So no, we presently do not have a lot of babies that have been freed for adoption that could be matched with a person on our list of suitable persons.
So there's often, occasionally, there are reports of, babies being abandoned in Trinidad and Tobago. What happens to those babies? Do they go into the foster care system in Trinidad and Tobago with the government?
Right. So in the event that a baby is found abandoned anywhere, the Children's Authority will be in contact, because usually persons will report it to the police and Children's Authority as well. So once Children's Authority becomes involved, we are now responsible for doing a full investigation. So we receive as much information as possible. If it's a baby that's been abandoned somewhere and there's no identifying information, we try our best to do an investigation to find out, within the hospital system, was a baby born recently that would have matched this description. So a complete investigation is done to try to find some family member or some sort of familiar person to this child, somebody who might be aware of this baby or the circumstances surrounding the baby, to be able to exhaust that option first, a placement with a relative or some sort of family member. When that cannot be done, then the child will be, the Children's Authority will apply for what we call a care order, where we will now be in control of this child. And again, the process will continue, where we will do our best to try to free this child for adoption. So just to clarify that, a child could be in the care of Children's Authority, but not necessarily a candidate for adoption. It's a different process of freeing a child for adoption. That child has to, undergo a different type of medical assessment, different psychosocial assessments, present all of that into a document to make an application to the court to free this particular baby for adoption.
So you just said something that was very curious there. You said that a child could be in the foster system, but not up for adoption. Could you tell us the differences in why a child may not be up for adoption as opposed to one that is up for adoption?
Right. So not just for a baby, but any child could be in the foster care system or even in a community residence. And that child may be placed in that circumstance for, meant for a temporary arrangement. Maybe the birth parents or the biological parents or some family member, cannot have that child in their care right now. Maybe they don't want to even relinquish the parental rights, and they are still in touch with that child to some extent. So the circumstances will vary, but some children will be in the care of Children's Authority, but their family members still are in contact. They still have some sort of relationship or access to someone in their family, or whatever the circumstances, because being in foster care is meant to be a temporary arrangement, whereas a child that is freed for adoption, their family members do not have any contact with them. The parents no longer have any rights to this child. So that child could be in foster care, which is, a temporary arrangement waiting to be matched with an adoptive parent, which is meant to be a permanent arrangement. So they will be in that foster care system or in the children's homes waiting to be matched with someone.
No, I know there are a number of children in our foster care homes in the government system. So that begs the question then, why does it take so long for those people, those members of the public that want to become adoptive parents, why does the process take so long for them to get a child?
Right. So again, because in order for a person to adopt a child, that child must be freed for adoption. And one of the large components of that is parents giving consent. So the Children's Authority must do due diligence in ensuring that a parent, can be found to begin with. So even that process in itself might require us to place ads, try to go out into the communities, try to get involved or in touch with as much persons as possible to have that child freed for adoption. So even that process, because it's something that might take a while, this child would be in the foster care system or in a community residence while that freeing process is underway, so that they could be freed for adoption before they are matched with a person on the list of suitable persons.
So we know that sometimes parents would, they will have their child, they'll give birth to their child, and they'll begin raising the child, but for whatever circumstances, they're no longer able to properly take care of this child, whether it might be for financial reasons, whether it might be for mental health reasons or family circumstances, living circumstances. There are a myriad of reasons why parents might want to give up custody of their children. Now, for a parent that might be facing that situation, how do they go about giving their child up for adoption?
Right. So I always say, a person that makes that very tough decision of placing a child for adoption, their own child for adoption, is a very selfless act. It will vary from the individual to the individual in each circumstance. So we always ask persons to please reach out directly to the adoption unit of Children's Authority. We will invite you in for an interview in person or virtual, whatever is more convenient, and we will explain that process. We will do an interview to find out what is the circumstance. Is it that this person cannot care for this child because they, just don't have the means to do so right now? And we will explain the foster care system as well to determine which will be best suited for this person. Once this person identifies that, no, they truly want to place their child for adoption, they want the best for this child, then we will liaise with the relevant social workers that the person might be in connection with. We will prepare whatever documents needed. The mother, if it is the child is already born, she will give consent. And we also need the consent of the birth father as well. And we will do is very similar to what I would have explained earlier, the freeing process, which is, completing the necessary assessments, to compile everything into one cohesive document and make an application to the court for this child to be freed for adoption.
So you mentioned getting the permission of the birth father as well, the biological father. Before you give the child up for adoption, is there any attempts to reach out to members of the family, whether it's in immediate family or extended members of the or extended family, to take the child into custody before they give it up for adoption?
So at that point, we do explain the permanency of adoption as much as possible. It is a very confidential situation. So our job at the adoption unit is not to, convince someone otherwise, or to try to, convince family members to, take a child. We will ask, what is your social support like? Are persons in your family aware of that, that you would like to place this baby for adoption or this child for adoption? So we try to work with persons as much as possible, but adoption is typically one of the last resorts. It's not meant to be your first resort that, you are in a difficult circumstance and, you come straight to adoption. Foster care or having your child placed in a community residence for temporary care is explained and is an option for persons as well as much as possible. But if in the end a person decides that no, they really do not want this child, either in their care or in the care of any other family member, and they want to relinquish their parental rights, then that process is explained in detail, as it is a very permanent process, because once an adoption order is granted, it cannot be reversed. So you can't change your mind later on and decide, okay, no, well, things are better now in a year, so I want the child back. That is where, you might be best suited for foster care. And we do explain that in detail as well to any person interacting with the adoption unit, the differences in, a long-term placement option and a temporary placement option.
So you said that you generally don't force persons to basically take care of the children. So if somebody comes to you all and they say, well, I just don't want to be a parent anymore, that's a perfectly legitimate reason for them to give their children up for adoption.
Yes, it is, and it's a no judgment free zone. So we are not at the adoption unit. We're not here to judge any person or tell them what to do, because we can't. We simply cannot tell a person what is in the best interest of their child or what is in their own best interests. We are just simply there to provide whatever information on the process and support them in whatever their decision is as much as possible.
And sometimes when adopted children, they grow up and they become adults, or even when they're teenagers, they might be curious about their birth parents. How does one who is adopted go about finding their birth parents in Trinidad and Tobago?
Right. So in order to do that, the person must be over the age of 18. They will go to the court to have their documents unsealed. Once the court grants that, the Children's Authority will be instructed to release that document that would have identified whether the birth parents wish to be contacted by the child when they're 18 or do not wish. So even the birth parents have that say whether they want to be contacted or not. But some persons, they do not wish to be contacted. So at that point, the child will then find out, and by then they're an adult now, that, unfortunately, their birth parents do not want their information to be revealed. So the information is simply not shared.
And for a lot of persons in Trinidad and Tobago, we do not know much about the adoption system, even though you did a lot of education this morning, but generally persons don't know how the adoption system works in Trinidad and Tobago. The general point of reference is what they see on television and the American reference to adoption. Could you just speak to what similarities there may be and what differences there may be between Trinidad and Tobago and what persons generally see on television?
The permanency of adoption, regardless of whichever part of the world you're living in, is more or less the same. It's meant to be a permanent arrangement. So that, as much I would say, is what you'll find similar. The differences would be, each state, each country will have their own laws that would explain the adoptive process. In Trinidad, we are heavily bounded by our legislation that speaks to the process of adoption in Trinidad. So even the concept of like an open adoption and a closed adoption, it is very exclusive to our functioning within Trinidad. So there will be differences, and I would say whatever you see on TV is a replicate of what might be happening in that particular state or that particular country. But with respect to Trinidad and Tobago, do not be guided by what you see on TV. Be guided by the information that we have shared, the information that's on our website, as well as our legislation that exists that details our process.
And as you mentioned, website and sharing the information that you share, can you just give persons the contact information apart from the website, but any phone numbers that they can contact or social media handles that they could reach out to if they want to find out about the adoptive process?
Sure. So persons can call us at 627-0748. And to speak directly to someone from the adoption unit, you're putting in extension 40021 all the way to 40030. So any extension between 40021 to 40030, you can get in contact with a member of the adoption unit. You can also find us on Facebook, Children's Authority, or on Instagram. We have a lot of our information readily available there, as well as, we currently have a survey that's going on for the month of September, because September is Foster Care and Adoption Awareness Month, and we want to find out what the public understands about adoption and foster care, because we realize, even though the information is out there, there's still some uncertainty, with respect to the permanent process of adoption versus the temporary process of foster care. So we want to hear from persons in the public as much as possible. Complete that survey. It ends next week, which is the ending of September. And we want to hear what your views are. What is your understanding? What you want more of from the Children's Authority adoption and foster care units?
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Ariana Hossain Hwazak, who is the team lead of the adoption unit of the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, speaking to us about child adoption awareness. We wish you all the success, and we pray that your unit is very effective in rendering services to not just children, but also the parents of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Okay. Viewers, we have to take a short break, and when we come back, we will have conversations with Miss Nikisha Powder, who is the PRO of Bellaforma Golf Club, and she will be talking about Tobago Ladies' 4th annual golf tournament. We have to go for a short break, but help us out. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back after these messages.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest. We protect. Everyone benefits.
Courts is well known as the Caribbean's largest retailer, providing consumers for generations with the very best products to enhance their homes. This year, we bring our expertise to businesses. Courts Business Solutions will serve small, medium, and large companies with the very best products at the most competitive prices, backed by warranties and after-sales support. Hoteliers, office managers, restaurants, and so many more. Courts Business Solutions, a brand of the Unicomer Group.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
I send in a big, 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 big dirty bun for you. Better than them. And I have a big, 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 big dirty bun for you. So you better door run. Come on, fun, I said door run. Good morning, Bacchanal. How do you do? It's very critical. Talk to you, but it's a long road I'm going down. And I need some vibes in my life. I stay sure. Bless me with Juve. Carnival is my time.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome back to the Tobago Morning Show, the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And we have in studio with us Miss Nikisha Powder, who is the PRO of the Bella Forma Golf Club. Yes, and she's here to talk about the Tobago Ladies' 4th Annual Golf Tournament. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. As you said, well, I'll introduce myself. Good morning, Tobago, and good morning, special good morning to the golfing community. I am Nikisha Powder. I am the Public Relations Officer for the Bella Forma Golf Club. I'm also a part of the Tobago Touring Ladies, who is hosting the tournament. And I'm actually 2023 winner of said tournament.
Okay, all right. So we have a former champion in the studio with us this morning.
Yes.
So just tell us a little bit about the Tobago Ladies' 4th Annual Golf Tournament.
Well, the Tobago Ladies in particular, who is hosting the tournament, is a group of ladies that came together who love golf. They travel within Trinidad and Tobago and internationally, and it's a supportive community for women in golf. It's a place where you could come, travel, learn to play golf, and you have support from various women who have been there for many years, or new ladies, and it's been really exciting. I'm really proud to be a part of that.
And the tournament itself is a charitable event, right?
Yes, it is.
So just tell us about
charities go to women of substance. Information is available on the flyer. And the tournament, I'm inviting, well, Tobago Updates first. I'm inviting you this Saturday, the 27th at 4 p.m. Please come out and support us. And I'm inviting all women who love golf, whether you are a seasoned pro, whether you are now starting. You can come out this Saturday, give yourself a challenge, and have some fun. We're going to try to create an exciting tournament, and event to remember.
So I see here that registration begins at 8 a.m. and tee-off
at 9.
Starts at 9.
Yes.
So it's an 18-hole tournament.
Yes.
But you have other options as well. You could speak to those options.
They have for juniors, which is like younger. They have, I guess, 9 holes, 6 holes. That means you don't play the full 18 holes. Yeah, right. So it's a reduced option for the younger ones. And also, I would like to mention, outside of the tournament, sponsors.
Yes.
The sponsors. So basically, we have a platinum sponsor, which is the Bella Forma Golf Club. They are the platinum sponsor, and they're also making a cash donation to the Tobago Ladies Tournament. We have a gold sponsor, who is Jade Monkey. Also, we have 3 bronze sponsors. We have the Mangalina Grand Beach and Golf Resorts. We have Mr. Khalil Nabi, and we have the Ultimate Experience. And we want to thank the sponsors for supporting us, because ladies golf is a bit, it's catching up to, yes. Everyone knows Tiger Woods. No one knows Nikisha Powder. So I'm really thankful to the sponsors for coming out and supporting us.
As you mentioned that ladies golf is catching up, what is it like in the Tobago space with women and their interest in playing golf?
I think most people assume golf is really expensive. And what I would explain to them is, when I started golf, I did not pay $1. I didn't pay for clubs. The women were really supporting, and like people would have older clubs as you advance, so you keep those and you donate them to less, to new players, the new people that are starting. And sometimes you start at 1 club, 2 clubs. Also, there's support in terms of the TTGA, the Trinidad and Tobago Golf Association. They send up some coaches to train us. So they use the coaches in Tobago to train us, the women in particular. So if you're brand new, there are opportunities like that to come and learn. And also, in terms of buying clubs, like I bought my first set for my birthday like a year later. So there are opportunities there to learn without killing your pocket. So
right. And in terms of the tournaments, is this the only tournament that the only women's tournament that there is in Tobago during the calendar year, or are there other tournaments?
Actually, yes. That is how unpopular women golf is. This is the only one. It have a lot of tournaments throughout the year, but they're like mixed and they're for men and women, of course.
Yes.
But this is the only ladies golf tournament in Tobago. So that's why it's so important for everyone to come out. If you love golf, come out. If you're interested, you think it's expensive, please come out and support the tournament on Saturday. And through Bella Forma Golf Club, or if you see me, or anyone that's involved, just come and ask us questions, show your interest, and we'll tell you how to start.
And for persons watching this now and they really want to try their hand at golf, they've always been, they've seen it on television, they want to do it, but they're not sure, that kind of thing. How does one get involved in golf? Well,
I think one of the first starts is to come. You could talk to the Bella Forma Golf Club, for example. You could approach me. I'm very look for my hair out on the golf course, right? You could approach anyone from the Tobago touring ladies, and you could just come and have a conversation with us, and we would guide you along the process of how to start. Whatever questions you have, we will clarify, we'll answer all the questions, and set you off into being a pro golfer, hopefully.
So, how many ladies are you all anticipating will be registered for this tournament based on numbers that you may have had in the previous years?
Well, hopefully between 20 to 60 ladies.
20 to 60, that's a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of ladies that come up from Trinidad also to support us, because we tour and we support Trinidad. Trinidad have like 6 golf courses. So, it's 20. It's a good number of ladies there. Various ages from 12 years old up to 60s and 70s. Ladies are playing golf still. So.
Okay, and in your year, you said you were the 2023 champion.
Yes.
As the open category?
That's the general for the total winner. Actually, I won, they had like first flight, so they have different categories. So you have first flight, second flight, third flight, and then I think I won first flight, I think it was first flight and the general overall tournament. So the flight, just to get in a little details about golf. So flights are basically your level of, or your capacity to, like for example, Tiger Woods is a pro. So he's out of flights. He's just the top level. Yes. But as you enter golf, you have a handicap, right?
Yes.
So handicap is like bigger, so like 40, we call that bigger, and then you go to 1, that's less, right? So if I now start playing golf, I'll probably have like a 40. And as I improve, I would go closer to 1. And then when you become a pro like Tiger Woods, you don't really have a handicap anymore, per se. I want to get back, I want to get into a little bit more about what you just say there. Okay.
For those who don't understand what a handicap is,
right?
Can you just explain to them what you mean by a handicap?
So that is what they call a score, like a number. So the number 40. Say I come in, I'm brand new, I could barely hit a ball. Say for example, I play, okay, I don't want to confuse you, but so you have 18 holes in golf, right? So to complete and to have a par, say you have a par 4. Yes. That means you hit 4 shots to get into the hole, right? So then they add all the 18 holes, and then so you're supposed to complete. So you get a par, which is you don't lose a play, and you get a certain score, right? So to make up for you being less capacity, they give you a larger number, right? So say I'm a pro, and you just came in, you might have 40 shots, and I have 0.
Right.
So you have 40 shots to assist you to tie with me in a sense. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
So that's what the handicap is. It makes it a fair
across
game.
The board.
Well, female or male, because
yes.
I mean, males and females still have the difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see here you all have a number of prizes, but the registration for adults is 400. For the juniors is 200 and 150. 150 for juniors who doing 9 holes and under. And I see that there was an initial deadline of the 31st of August, but I don't know if the deadline has been moved.
31st of August? I think the deadline has been moved. I think you can still come in on the day.
On the day itself.
Yes, and participate in the tournament. Hopefully the actual details of that are correct. And but yes, I'm sure that you could come in on the day of the tournament and be a part of it. I'm sure we wouldn't refuse any lady that comes out.
All right. Do you have any closing remarks that you would like to make? Any last push, any last marketing for ladies to come out and really participate in this tournament?
Well, I'll just repeat what I said. I'll thank the sponsors again. I mentioned them before. And ladies, please come out. If you're a pro, you're a beginner, come out, support us. You're just interested in golf, learning golf, come out and support the Women Ladies Tournament, the 4th annual tournament this Saturday from 8 o'clock. And I'll see you there.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, you heard it from Miss Nikisha Powder, PRO of the Bellaforma Golf Club, speaking about Tobago Ladies 4th Annual Golf Tournament. And for those of you that are interested, you can call or WhatsApp 868-330-9035 or 868-352-9091 for further information. Or you can email info@ultimateexperiencett.com or visit www.ultimateexperiencett.com. Yes, this Saturday, the Tobago Ladies 4th Annual Golf Tournament at the Magdalena Grand Hotel and Golf Resort. Yes, Beach and Golf Resort, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go for a short break. And when we come back on the other side, we speak with Miss Paula Daniel Linton and Cindy Stewart Lewis about Aero Services Credit Union 75th anniversary celebrations. But we have to go for a short break. And when we come back on the other side, we have a conversation with those ladies. So do us a favor, share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back after these messages.
Rise and shine, Tobago. The breakfast vibes you've been waiting for is here.
When you rum, tell you you's a big dancer.
It's time for Sun Up Tobago, the ultimate breakfast inclusive pool party that kicks off your carnival in style.
We came to take shots. She come to take shots.
Join us on Thursday, October 23rd from 6 a.m. to 12 noon at Scarborough House, 138 Milford Road. Music pumping, breakfast sizzling, coolers flowing, and vibes unmatched. This is where sun, sea, soca, and celebration collides. Get your early bird tickets now at Pablo Supermarkets, Barcode, Lost Restaurant and Launch, Signature Cuts, IslandEtickets.com, and committee members. Don't miss the event where Tobago Carnival truly begins. Sun Up Tobago. Come for the breakfast, stay for the vibe.
Tobago Updates Television recognizes women in business. Every Thursday morning on The Morning Show, we engage with women-owned and operated businesses from right here in Tobago. We'll discover these women, their businesses, what inspired their business, their highs and their lows, and their encouragement to you. Join me, your host, Adana Kambi, this and every Thursday on The Morning Show from 7:40 a.m. as we celebrate and encourage women in business.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And we have on the line with us this morning Paula Daniel Linton, who's the Assistant Secretary, and Cindy Stewart Lewis, Supervisory Committee member. And they're here to talk about the Aero Services Credit Union 75th Anniversary Celebrations. Yes, the Aero Services Credit Union 75th Anniversary Celebrations. Good morning and welcome, ladies. Good morning, ladies, and welcome.
Hi, morning. Are you hearing us?
Yes,
Okay,
I am
great.
hearing you. So,
Okay, great.
just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the Aero Services Credit Union.
Sure. My name is Paula Daniel Linton. I'm a director on the board of our Services Credit Union. I'm also the assistant secretary, and I'm also the Tobago committee board rep. So just a little bit of Aero Services. As you know, we are celebrating our 75th anniversary this year. We have been in existence since 1950, and we started off as a small buyers club, and we have certainly grown today to be very proud to boast of 2 locations, one in Trinidad and one in Tobago. And we also have a sporting complex at Orapoon Gardens in Trinidad. So we have been providing, our customers, our members, with products and services, all with the aim of enriching the quality of their lives. And our services range from loans to savings to fixed deposits, share accumulation, and of course, the rewards of dividends.
And just give us a brief history of the credit union and their presence in Tobago.
So as I said, we have an office in Tobago currently. Our first office actually was at Torbay Local Road in Crown Point, and that was opened in 2015. And we've been at our new location, which is at Barrington Court. We opened that location on the 14th of December, 2023. So we have had in Tobago, and we want to grow that, of course.
And you have an event coming up on Thursday this week, I believe it is. Could you just tell us about that event and what are some of the offerings that will be happening at that event?
Right. So on Thursday, we will be at our Tobago location celebrating with our members for our 75th anniversary. We will be there between 12 and 3 p.m. and we invite our members to come down. We'll have treats. We'll have tokens of appreciation. We have some member games. This is really about engaging our members, celebrating with them for our 75th anniversary. Members also have the people who are not members with us are also invited to come down. We'll have our membership drive going on. Members can sign up with a waived membership fee as well for that day. So it's all about celebrating the Tobago family that we have and growing family even further.
And Christmas is right around the corner and persons looking to do some things around the house or take a trip. And you have a very special anniversary loan taking place. So just tell us a bit about that anniversary loan.
Sure, no problem. So for our 75th anniversary loan, we are offering our customers, our members, the opportunity to borrow up to 4 times their encumbered shares. And as you said, this is ideal for projects, all those Christmas projects that you've been waiting to do at the end of the year, home improvements. Even if you know your project is yourself and you want to upgrade your skills, you can borrow up to 4 times your unencumbered shares at our special anniversary rates.
And you say unencumbered shares. What do you mean by unencumbered shares?
Of course, it's as a financial institution, of course, you have to be able to support the loan that you're taking, so unencumbered. So once it's not pledged to anything else, that will serve as your basis, your collateral for your loan. And then we 4 times from.
And then someone that wants to join the credit union, could you just, they probably never joined a credit union before, could you just tell us step by step how you go about joining a credit union or joining the Aero Services Credit Union?
Sure, you can collect a loan form at our office, or you can get a form online at our website. And it's very simple to fill out. You need to provide, we have enrollment for adults and for children. So you would need to provide, of course, your form of ID, job letters in terms of the adult, as I said, our membership fee, right? Proof of address through a utility bill or bank statement, right? And you'll be able to sign up. In the case, of course, of a child, we have slightly different criteria. The parent will also have to show those similar documents and, of course, proof of the child's birth in terms of their birth paper.
And concerning I want to just circle back to the loan. The 100 Days of Christmas loan goes up until December?
Yes, so in addition to our anniversary loan, we do have our 100 Days of Christmas loan. And that actually gives the consumer or the member 3 different levels of borrowing. They can borrow either $45,000, $75,000, or up to $100,000. And the good thing about this loan is not just, money to be spent, but we're also encouraging you to save. So it's a combination of cash, and part of the loan will actually go into your shares to build, to of course reap dividends and rewards at the end of the financial period.
And
it does go up for 24th.
December the 24th. No, you were talking about shares, encumbered and unencumbered shares. Somebody who has just joined the credit union, can they have access to loans immediately after they join the credit union, or is there a wait period or anything like that?
So once you become a new member, we have a loan called a Jumpstart loan. That is a small amount. It can be like 20 or 30,000. Again, part of this goes into your shares, so it encourages you to save and to build, and part would be the actual loan to the member, given in cash. So yes, they can access loans.
And this Jumpstart loan, it doesn't require you to have a number of shares unencumbered or anything like that?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Okay, so I see we have on the line Miss Cindy Stewart-Lewis, who's the supervisory committee member. Good morning and welcome, ma'am. Good morning and welcome. I think you might be muted. Okay, we seem to have lost her there. Ms. Paula Daniel Linton, do you have any closing remarks that you would like to give, any closing information that you would like to give us before we wrap up the interview?
Sure. I would like to let our Tobago members know that October is Credit Union Month. So I would like them to look out for, we're going to have an open day at the office at Barrington Court. Looking forward to more events and opportunities to win during Credit Union Month activities. Of course, we have a Tobago committee specially for our Tobago members, and the Tobago committee as well will be organizing some partnerships with local groups in the community. For example, we will be doing something in tandem with the Girl Guides. We have that in train, and we're currently making finalized arrangements for that, plus other activities within the community. So I just want to say, thank you for having us on the show. Please encourage our members and new potential members to come down to Barrington Court and it celebrates 75 years of us being stronger and us looking towards the future with a global mindset.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Paula Daniel Linton, who is the Assistant Secretary at the Area Services Credit Union, speaking about their 75th anniversary celebrations. We wish the Area Services Credit Union all the best in their future endeavors, and that you all are really able to serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago to the best of your ability.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
ladies and gentlemen, viewers, unfortunately, we have come to the end of the Tobago Updates morning show, but Tobago Updates programming does not end there. Up next, we have GMT with Chanel Felix. So do us a favor, share the live, share the live, share the live. GMT is up next.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
Because oncology is an illness that most people think is the end of life and oh gosh, my family member is dying, there are a lot of support for patients. Therefore, a lot of patients, relatives, friends and well-wishers follow them to clinic. The building that we now exist in is really small. We have 6 chairs in the waiting area, and then we cannot accommodate patients and relatives. If it rains, relatives have to find their cars. The sun is too hot, relatives have to find under trees. This situation was untenable. Therefore, the proposed move is welcome. I've been to the place, I've visited. The ambience is good. I know there is some construction to be done to make it fit for purpose at this time. And I do believe and I do feel that move, we will be able to enhance the care we give in various ways, because then we'd have space. Relatives would be able to come and sit with patients. That kind of intimate support will be there. For me, if I have to say yes or no to the move, I would have said yes in 2012, 2013, thereabout, when the population started growing. That is after we had started in 2010, and patients knew that we had services available in Tobago, and they start migrating from Trinidad. Definitely, patients, relatives would be happy. Patients would be happy. Staff would welcome, because the unit is definitely tight. You can't move a wheelchair around the unit. There's one patient toilet. The situation is not good as it is.
About 40 years ago, I got into an accident, and I was at blue, sterile stuff now, and I had a scan. And I was always conscious of filling the scan. So one day I felt it a little uncomfortable, and I started to test, check it, until I decided to have a checkup. The doctors and the nurses and them, they were really nice. You could see they were operating under duress. The place was uncomfortable, inadequate, not comfortable to sit for privacy, and but because it's cancer, because of it, and you want the service, you go. If it was for any other reason, you would have looked for somewhere else to go. For they needed, and they need to be approved.
This is where, for instance, if I have to speak to a family about what's going on with a patient, I have to have the patient and all the relatives in this space. It's not really conducive to that sort of conversation, especially if the news is not good. Normally after chemotherapy, we want to see you a week later to see how you're going and check your blood count. And then a lot of times that's a second journey to St. James. A lot of people would just disappear for 3 weeks, and we hope we see them when the next treatment session comes around. It would allow for patients to, one, have a bit more privacy and even have a relative come and spend some time with them while they're doing their treatment if the treatment is going on for hours. Having greater privacy would make people at least more at peace to know that, you know, just because I show up at that building, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is what I have. Treatment in a more beautiful environment, a more calming environment, could only make things easier for patients. They're going through enough as it is just with the illness and diagnosis and coming to grips with that.
I'm so happy to know that you are doing something about it, but it's about time.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix, and you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting topics and conversations, let's have our news in 90 seconds. Tobago's new Eastern Terminal at the A&R Robinson International Airport moved a step closer to completion with a high-level tour yesterday. The visit included Airport Authorities Chairman Aaron Henry, THA Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, Liaison Coordinator in the Office of the Prime Minister Ashworth Jack, and board members and senior managers. The tour underscored the THA's role as a key stakeholder and marked Augustine's first on-site engagement. With critical airside works ongoing and NIDCO's transition to the authority underway, officials pledged closer collaboration to ensure that the terminal's timely commission and full operations. Additionally, former PSA President Watson Duke has been denied conditional leave to appeal to the UK Privy Council in his pension dispute with the union. Justice of Appeal ruled his case and raised no issue of general public importance. Duke resigned in 2021 to serve in the Tobago House of Assembly and later sued the PSA for alleged breaching his contract by withholding pension payments. He sought an injunction citing financial hardship, but the court overturned it, noting undisclosed gratuity payments, pension eligibility with WASA, and risk of irreparable harm to the PSA. And finally, the annual Republic Day celebrations will begin with a morning 5K and 3K run, followed by cycling and aerobics. The Republic Day route march will begin at 9 a.m. from Lamy Road and to Sid Gray Sporting Complex. Cultural showcase, boat regatta, music and traditions will be highlighted with Tobago's heritage before the fireworks at the Roxborough waterfront to close the festivities at 8:30 p.m. And that was our news in 90 seconds. This morning, we jump straight ahead into our conversations, and we are talking all about what's happening with the local and the Tobago economy. Good morning and welcome this morning, Dr. Vaness James, who's an economist who is no stranger to us here on Tobago Updates. We are often having these conversations on the political climate, the status of the economy, and all that's happening surrounding Tobago's growth and development. Now, recently, we heard a number of things, particularly from the Central Statistical Office as it pertains to Tobago consumers and their ability to fit the bill these days. You had some concerns that you raised on Tobagonians' ability to pay basic bills that they were previously accustomed to paying. You know, it's like the money isn't stretching to where it stretched before. Tell us why this is of grave concern now more than ever.
Well, the CSO's data that it published covers what we call headline inflation, the average general rate of inflation for the whole basket of goods that we monitor. And if you are in a Tobago environment, what will fundamentally matter to most households living in Tobago is what we call food inflation. And if you're taking a drink here and there, that too. And there's a big difference between the inflation rate for all items in the basket and the inflation rate for those items that are critical to Tobagonians. We are on the lower edge of the national economy. So the CSO published data showing a 1 percentage point decline in the inflation rate from 1.5% between July last year, August last year, and July this year. That's a 1%, 1.5% rate of increase in prices, in the price level. And that has declined to 1.4%. Now, as a statistician, I will tell you, I wouldn't bet my house on that 1 percentage point being a significant difference from the 1.5. But that's the way the CSO chose to report it. What Tobagonian households have to pay attention to, and national poor people, is that the food inflation rate was 3.3% in the same period. So if you are, you're taking a 3.3% hit on your budget month in, month out, month in, month out, every household in Tobago should care about that. 3.3% rise in prices. I feel it every time I go to the supermarket.
I was just about to say
it.
that, because for the average man on the streets who may not understand the economics of the percentages of inflation, and to them it's like, what are you saying? What they understand is that now this $1,000 that did grocery for the month is no longer covering grocery for the month. It's probably covering 2 weeks.
Exactly right.
So when we think about it in a practical way and being able to cover those bread and butter issues, what we're saying is the money that we had yesterday is not the money that we have today.
Right. Exactly right. And you have to care. And as a Tobagonian, you have to ask yourself, well, why is this happening? Why every time I go to the supermarket, price is going up? And a lot of it has to do with a stagnant productivity of agriculture in Tobago. The rate of output per person for food and other things that we consume that are in our food basket, so to say, all the affiliated things that you have to use to cook and all that. All those things, the output of those things that we produce in Tobago, or banana, or plantain, or cassava, things like your lettuce and tomatoes and so on, output per person of that, you could even think of it as output per farmer, isn't going up. And if that's not going up, prices are not going to come down, and you need the output per person to go up for prices to come down. So that's a sign that we need to do something about productivity in our agricultural sector, especially.
Right, and we've heard this administration, particularly the Division of Food Security, talk about the mega farm initiatives and talk about pumping money towards building the capacity of farmers and helping them to get the type of training and education that they need to increase their productivity. But outside of that, what is needed for these farmers to produce on the level that they need to produce on? Some persons are saying, well, give them the land space and they'll do what they need to do. Some are saying, even if you give them the land space, they still don't have the technical capabilities and the machinery and the access roads and all of this. Tell us, what do you think is really the major area to touch on as it pertains
But
to...
the whole thing has to be organized very differently. You have not seen any mega farms, and mega farms don't work. They didn't work in Chagaramas when the government of Trinidad and Tobago, with a much bigger space and much more money, tried to do it down there. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in a country like this at all. And as far as I know, I don't see it working anywhere in the Caribbean either, including in Jamaica. And I study all of them every day for a living. So I can tell you that's not the direction in which you have to go. I think if you want to sort out agriculture in Tobago, you have to sort out the communities. You have to turn to the communities of Tobago to rescue the agricultural sector. Agriculture exists in all our villages, and you have to empower them to take responsibility for agriculture. Sitting down in Scarborough, sitting down in the THA, you can't do that. You have to put the responsibility in the hands of the communities, and to do that, they have to be empowered to own space in the communities. So a lot of the agricultural lands that are in the public place, that are owned by the public, or many of the ill-gotten gains of the old plantation system, should be lodged in the ownership of the communities as a whole. And then they take responsibility to bring agriculture back. And if you did it that way, I think you'd get dramatic increase in agricultural productivity. Now, in order for that to work, you now need the agro-processing facilities, because if you double output of things like cassava and lettuce and other things like those, you're going to need long shelf life in Tobago, and you need to put them together in a form that could export them out of Tobago. And so for that, you need agro-processing capabilities to be installed. Now, those are the kinds of aggregate things. Public-private partnership could help the THA with. The THA could get involved in those kinds of things. They could get involved in the agro-processing to support what the communities are doing. But to leave it up to the THA to say, we're going to put in 2 mega farms, you'll wait now until all of the hydrogen burns out in the sun before that ever.
Right, I'm glad that you touched on investing in those capabilities to really assist farmers, because I believe it was in a previous conversation with the Secretary for Food Security. She indicated their investment in some freezer trucks to help with the movement of those goods within the island, because that has been an area.
Well, that's a short-term thing. It's not, you need agro-processing capability. You're talking about preservation of stuff for long shelf life. Freezing is a very, very short-term aspect of it, because even when you talk about something like fish, which is very amenable to freezing. Remember, the more you freeze your fish in your fridge, the more you break up the cells, and when you have to cook it, you have to defrost and dump it in your pot right away, otherwise all the liquids and the nutrients drain away. So you have to be careful with agro-processing capability. The other thing that Tobagonians need to think about is, if you're going to rebuild agriculture, what you were mentioning earlier is relevant. The technology has to be brought up to speed with modern knowledge. So you have to have THA-owned, THA-managed training systems, research capabilities, and so on. That's the sense in which the THA could help with agriculture coming back. But if you don't have real farming going on in your communities, where you could exploit all the potential of all the land in places like Wild Cow and Pigeon Hill and all those places all around our communities, all in Castara and in Richmond, and wherever we have spare land that we are not using well now. If you don't have a certain kind of technical capability to support agriculture in that sense, you won't get the agricultural productivity you need. And then we'll all be lamenting that, food prices not coming down.
Excellent. And we switch gears a bit, and we're talking about the currency and the current policy. There's been a lot of conversation happening in this space as it pertains to trying to solve the economic problem that Trinidad and Tobago is happening by possibly devaluing the currency. Do you think that could make things better or worse?
Well, what you're trying to do, what the public has to understand here, is that what you're trying to do when you talk about devaluation is to ration currency through the market for foreign exchange. There is a foreign exchange market. You want foreign exchange, you go buy in those cambios and so on that you see all around. And you buy from your bank, of course. If you want to ration foreign exchange through the market, one way to do it is to raise the price, manage the price, raise it, lower it, if you're the monetary authority. But I think for myself that maybe that's the worst of all the possible options that the country has. First of all, we have to understand what the source of the problem is. The real problem with our persistent shortages of foreign exchange is that we are seeing a steady decline in the performance of the energy sector over time. And that is worsened regularly by collapse of prices. So I checked before I came on your interview this morning, oil prices are down to $62.80 and gas prices are at $2.80, and that's way below what was projected in the current budget that the country is running. $78 was projected, and somewhere near $3.40, 50 cents was projected for gas. So when you're faced with these declining prices, what happens is that you are putting stress on the official reserves and to some extent on the HSF, the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And you have to be careful with those, because remember that they give you a total cover of about 8 months of imports. This is a country that lives on imports. So government has to always be very careful not to allow market demand to drive it to keep supplying its official reserves to the market, to allow the market to function and to keep the exchange rate from skyrocketing out of control. So you use other methods to manage the demand before you get down to the business of tinkering around with the prices. So if I were the government, I wouldn't head first and foremost to devaluation of the currency at all. I would look for other ways to,
right. And even as you talk about those other ways, this is from my unlearned perspective with my macro and microeconomic exposure at the basic level. Is it that through increased local productivity that we can shift things around? Because when we look at the case study of China that moved from a third world country to a first world country, their main strategy was to utilize local factory and production to shift the economic trajectory. So is it that in order to turn around Trinidad and Tobago, we have to release ourselves from the chokehold of depending on oil and gas and focus more on the production sector and try to see how we could supply the Caribbean region with most of the things that we are importing? Shifting the import.
You're heading in the right direction with your micro and macroeconomics. I think so. I think the first thing, of course, is that the low-hanging fruit is to try and drive up productivity. The longer, more difficult part of that is the demand issue I raised about long shelf life and so on. But remember, if you raise productivity, then you will have surplus products you have to export. Tobago will have to export to Trinidad, and Tobago and Trinidad will have to export to the rest of the world. So productivity growth is one part of the answer, and it's a correlative of the much more important part of the answer, which is that you have to restructure the economy. Now, to restructure the economy, you can't bet on oil and gas the way we'll come to that in a little bit, I suppose. What you have to do is know how to trade, know how the country has to trade. And basically how the country has to trade is that it has to shift towards production of professional services and other things like those for export. And it is those that will allow you to earn the foreign exchange and pay for the imports. Remember, foreign exchange could only be used to buy imports. And so your job is to find a way to earn more. And what oil and gas is doing is cutting your availability. So now you have to shift gears. But there's data we'll talk about in a little bit that tells you that that is not an easy thing to do.
Understood.
And we know that
but we
now.
do have the raw aggregate. We have the raw materials up at the Studley Park quarry. we have the pitch league. What other areas should we be focusing on exporting to increase that foreign currency coming into Trinidad and Tobago outside of oil and gas?
Well, the experts who know the quarry well, including engineers like David Moses and so on, have told me that there's a lot of potential up there, not only for direct raw exports. Remember, if you're exporting the aggregates, you're not doing any different thing to it than you were doing now with oil in Trinidad and Tobago.
So you have to add value.
Right, you have to add value. And we've been grappling with that ever since Hochoi's days. When I first came to work with Hochoi, that was one of the fundamental issues we raised with the engineers. What else could be produced with the product, with the beautiful andesite that we have up there, that we could export, we could produce and export? It is no use we think about producing the andesite and simply using it in Tobago. If we're so dependent on imports, we got to produce it in forms that will allow us to export it. So we were thinking then of things like brake shoes and other stuff like that. That's the assignment you have to give to the quarry and the engineers in the THE to work out with the private sector what other things we could produce with this beautiful andesite that we could export. And we don't know much more than brake shoes. I haven't heard anything more than that since
I see from just looking around the world and what's happening, you have a lot of countries like Monaco that are starting to do a lot of building out into the sea to expand the land surface that they have for buildings, those huge buildings, and they're creating those stones that interlock, go down into the sea and help them to create that increased land space. Is this something that we could look into in Trinidad and Tobago, creating those blocks?
Yeah, I know the blocks. The Chinese are experts at using them all over the Caribbean sea space. But we'll have to look at the feasibility of production and export of whatever we choose to do. That is not an assignment that an economist could answer. You need a team in which the private sector is involved, the public engineers are involved, the economists are involved, and so on, to look at the various options and say, well, look, this is the one that is least cost, most productive, most profitable for us. The way we do business in Trinidad and Tobago, however, is so closed that you're not likely to get that kind of teamwork. But if you don't have something like that, you're very likely to always be saying, we have the andesite and we're not doing enough with it.
Understood. We're going to take a quick break right here and we'll continue with much more in this conversation right after this. See you soon.
Rise and shine, Tobago. The breakfast vibes you've been waiting for is here.
When you wrong, tell you you's a big dancer.
It's time for Sun Up Tobago, the ultimate breakfast inclusive pool party that kicks off your carnival in style.
We come to take shots. She come to take shots.
Join us on Thursday, October 23rd from 6 a.m. to 12 noon at Scarborough House, 138 Milford Road. Music popping, breakfast sizzling, coolers flowing, and vibes unmatched. This is where sun, sea, soca, and celebration collides. Get your early bird tickets now at Pablo Supermarkets, Barcode, Lost Restaurant and Launch, Signature Cuts, IslandEtickets.com, and committee members. Don't miss the event where Tobago Carnival truly begins. Sun Up Tobago. Come for the breakfast, stay for the vibe.
Quartz is well known as the Caribbean's largest retailer, providing consumers for generations with the very best products to enhance their homes. This year, we bring our expertise to businesses. Quartz Business Solutions will serve small, medium, and large companies with the very best products at the most competitive prices, backed by warranties and after-sales support. Hoteliers, office managers, restaurants, and so many more. Quartz Business Solutions, a brand of the Unicomer Group.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meats served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates, guys. I'm Chanel Felix, and this morning I have been chatting with economist Dr. Vanus James. Now, the ExxonMobil oil deal has been making regional headlines. Tell us a bit about the implications of this deal for Trinidad and Tobago, particularly in terms of competition, partnerships, and the energy security.
Well, we'll have to separate Trinidad and Tobago from Tobago in this conversation, right? So let's take Trinidad and Tobago first, because Tobago might take us to the end of your show.
Wow.
With Trinidad and Tobago, let's put the data in context. First of all, there's a $42.5 million signing bonus with the ExxonMobil deal that the government has gotten. That gives Trinidad and Tobago about $12 million in that bonus. Right? Well, not 42 million signing bonus, 42 million initial investment for exploration. Out of that, Trinidad and Tobago is getting about 12 million as a signing bonus. Right? These are essentially tax-related offtake on your investment in the country, in our natural resources. Now, that's chicken feed in the context of an economy that needs $1 billion something of foreign exchange every month to spend on imports. So you're not going to run home to mommy and say I made $12 million out of the ExxonMobil deal. So the story has to be about the long run. After the exploration, you put in the 17-18 billion that they're talking about as likely product, put in your investment to get that. And ExxonMobil will have to recoup all of that investment, all of the exploration money and the production costs to build up to the net back that we're going to get from before we get anything. So you're talking time. You're talking somewhere in the region of about 5 years when you look at what happened in Guyana, all the way up to 7, 8, 9 years before you could really start talking about gains. So what Trinidad and Tobago is doing here now is, in a sense, not paying enough attention to its history by hyping this ExxonMobil deal. One thing we have to worry about is the world is worried about climate change. We too. And that is about reducing dependence on fossil fuels. The consequence of that for Trinidad and Tobago, more than anything else, is likely to be the suppression of prices in the energy markets, both oil and gas. And so betting on oil and gas without talking about anything else that we're going to do with the money is to my mind, a huge mistake from the point of view of the country. Yeah. That's the first thing. The second thing that you can't ignore here is that there is no guarantee that when ExxonMobil explores in that area, I guess they know something because of what's going on with the Stabroek explorations. They know something about the geology of the whole area. So that's why I think they would have decided to come back in. But it still takes the exploration to turn suspicion and expectations into real oil and gas. So we'll have to remember as a country that you're not guaranteed that this will turn into a significant money-making thing. And I think the third important point the country must make is, you're talking $12 to $17 billion of gains. This country has made $100 billion and more dollars from oil and gas over its 100+ years of experience with this industry. What have we done with it is the fundamental question the country must not forget we have to answer. In other words, when you're talking about getting back anything from oil and gas, the first question you have to ask is, what do you do with the money when you get it? And the data we have, we could raise when we start to talk about how Tobago fits in. But the data we have is that the development of oil and gas as an industry suppresses development of the rest of the economy. That's why we have a diversification problem. It doesn't cause diversification. It blocks diversification.
Right. And is
and
that
you have
because
to be
of
clever about how you deal with that.
Right. So is that because of the continuous dependency on the revenue generated from oil and gas, as opposed to, as you indicated, taking the actual money and investing it into the other sectors?
Well, the evidence we have from the studies we're doing currently is that it's a policy-driven thing. It's, as Arthur Lewis pointed out 70 years ago, when you have an economy like this, right, even if you have sugar and you're making money from it, it takes public policy, sound public policy, to allow it to develop. So you may make money from oil and gas, but it will block your development unless you put in proper policies in order to stimulate the other parts of the economy. It's a famous thing that you might have heard of in your micro and macroeconomics that we call Dutch disease. This is a variant of that. It's just oil and gas disease or sugar disease rather than just Dutch disease. But it's our version of that problem. And it blocks the production and export of the professional services, and it blocks development of the tourism industry. And Tobago should perk up, because the record we have is that when oil and gas is booming, we pay no attention to the development of tourism, and we pay no attention to the production of and export of our professional services. And the consequence is that we are vulnerable to the shocks in oil and gas. And that's the old foreign exchange crisis problems that we run into every 5 years, every 7 years.
Understood. But recently, or maybe not so recently, we saw that there was the removal of the famous map of where gas is in Tobago waters that was placed at the Rockley Vale traffic light. Why do you think that has been removed?
Well, I would like to ask the people who had put it up, my own friend Trevor James and the whole PDP TPP outfit. They were the ones who put it up because they thought that the relationship between Tobago and Trinidad is a primary issue for the development of Tobago, which it is, for the reasons I just adduced there. If you do not have some policy put in place, then you don't know where you're going with something you call tourism. So this map has importance beyond oil and gas, but it's critical for us to put up the map so Tobagonians could see where the ExxonMobil deal really is. And I'm glad you put up my own map that I built for the UN back in 2011. This was the father of all of the other maps that have come out. If you could blow it up, you would see the deal that is the ExxonMobil deal is in the far eastern tip of that map, all in what we would call Tobago waters. No part of it is in Trinidad. All of it is in what we call Tobago waters. Of course, the media reports it as the east of Trinidad and Tobago. But from the point of view of the map that was over there at the lights, it's all in Tobago. So the same issues that were raised by Colibri and all the other things Shell was doing are the same issues that remain for Tobago to address today. It is amazing to me, Vanos James, that the THA is saying nothing about it with this massive new deal by ExxonMobil, and they even take down the map, while it is of vital importance for Tobagonians to be aware that we need to pay attention to where that exploration is, in the middle of Tobago, so to say, and raise the issue as to what is the best way for Tobago to relate to the fact that this is going on in what we would properly call Tobago's waters. Now, let me put that in the perspective of what I was saying earlier about the country. Let's remember that the best way for Tobago to benefit from those kinds of deals. Let me also just point out quickly that due south of the area that is the ExxonMobil deal is where the Starbrook deal is in Ghana. The Ghana field that ExxonMobil is exploiting is directly south, due south of that area, right? All those Tobago areas are exactly north of the Starbrook, just north, which is why I think ExxonMobil is so confident it's worth the while to get involved in the exploration up there. Now, back to the important point about how this fits for Tobago. First of all, with respect to Tobago, the betting on energy and effectively on Starbrook and on ExxonMobil and this consolidated set of blocks that they have out there is going to suppress the development of the Tobago economy through tourism if the record is to guide us. The evidence we have on Trinidad and Tobago, this is evidence right up to now, and I studied the data from 1970 to now. Every time oil and gas's share in the economy goes up, it suppresses the share of tourism because we don't use the oil and gas money to develop a proper form of tourism. And a huge part of the reason for that is that it also suppresses the development of the professional services for export, education, healthcare, housing services tied to the export of long-stay tourism, financial services, which Manning had thought about back in 2004, and so on. The creative industries and all suffer in the context of that. So the evidence we have is that it takes a particular approach to policy making in order to boost the development of these sectors. And as long as the policy is made the way it is now, the way the current government is making policy, just like the way Rowley made policy, and this is all the way going back to Eric Williams. You go in cabinet, uninformed, you make policy, you come out, you hold a press conference and pronounce what you're doing. Williams used to hold some long speeches in Woodford Square. But the consequence is that those policies 80-90% of the time are wrong, right? And they will not cause development of tourism, and therefore they will not cause development of Tobago, which has a stake in not just tourism for the beach, but long-stay tourism in the way St. Kitts Nevis is doing it, and in the way the Bahamas is doing it, exporting professional services over a long period of time. And that's where the real story about the ExxonMobil deal comes from, because simultaneous with going to ExxonMobil as a foreign company to come in, we ought to be checking to the international investors in education, the top-class universities all around the world, the top-class investors in healthcare, the top-class investors in the financial services, and so on, and saying, look, we have a rich potential in the Caribbean space, and we have a pivot here in Trinidad and Tobago, and especially in Tobago where we have beautiful beaches and so on, for us to develop a different approach to education. The Americans are now driving experts out of America. Come team, come bring your university program, where or bring your research programs. You go to Tesla, all of them, you say, look, if Trump doesn't want them in America, come in Trinidad and Tobago, come to Tobago and set up the facilities and team up with us to provide those same services to your company that you can't now get them to provide because Trump is blocking them. That sort of thing. We have to be thinking about simultaneously with this business of going to ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is just one kind of foreign investment.
Yeah.
And it's those other forms of foreign investment that St. Kitts Nevis deployed, that the Bahamas deployed, that Cayman deployed, that Bermuda deployed, and those are the only 4 that have been developing along the lines that they ought to be developing in the Caribbean. So we should join that as soon as possible now, and the big voice for that should be the THE.
Understood. But finally, you know, we don't have much time this morning. I wish we had a longer time, but there are currently geopolitical tensions happening very close by in a neighboring territory, Venezuela, with the conflict that happened with Venezuela and the US. We're now hearing Venezuela saying, well, we are ramping up our own security on the borders. We are now sending out our military to also fight against trafficking and the drug trade. What does this say for Tobago? What does this say for our economy? Not even Trinidad and Tobago, but us here on this small island. I had a conversation yesterday with Minority Leader Kelvin Morris, and he's raising concerns about the safety and the security of fishermen going out to fish. He's saying that, you know, there's a threat to their lives and their livelihood. Tell us about the impact.
Well, the first and most important problem I have with that whole set of developments is the abandonment of the rule of law by the country. When the Prime Minister, as a lawyer, endorses the Americans practicing in Caribbean waters what they're doing in America, which is to abandon the rule of law. You see what Trump is doing in America, he's just destroying the rule of law. So you endorse the fact that Trump could come into the Caribbean and just shoot down ships. There's no issue of the rule of law. The Prime Minister hasn't raised them. I mean, who are these people? How do you know? What process? Where is due process? For me, as a economist thinking about the link between the rule of law and development, I would be very concerned that, I am very concerned that what we're doing as a national matter, the matter of national policy, national pronouncements, is to endorse the abandonment of the rule of law. Trinidad and Tobago has no future in an economy in which we have abandoned all the principles relating to the rule of law, right? Due process and all of that. That's the first and most important thing. The second thing has to do with what tourism development means for Tobago. Now, if you think about what's going on in Antigua Barbuda, you have to watch the Caribbean carefully to see where your risks are. Where they are is they are trying to develop yachting, right, as a major part of their long-stay tourism program. Now, have we been talking about building marinas and yachting and so on right down there in Cove? Well, when your yachts fill up with 20 guests and start roaming around in the region, somebody just come and blow them out of the water. What happens to your tourism? Remember, they're blowing them out of the water without asking any questions. Maybe even they themselves don't know who they're blowing out of the water. So you now decide you're going to do what Antigua and Barbuda is doing, to join the sport fishing and all of that. And you send out your guests. So I'm, of course, concerned with our fishermen. Well, I one man in a boat and so on and so on. But when you start doing it, when they're so far shooting up plenty people in boat, and they shoot up plenty of your tourists who are here for a long stay, what is going to happen to your tourism? It's going to destroy any prospects of diversification towards long stay tourism. Because remember, when you bring people for education and they spend a whole semester, or for healthcare and they spend a whole 5-6 months, or to buy financial services and they're spending 6 and 7 months to build out their portfolios and so on, they're going to want to go on your vessels and go see the beauty of the Caribbean, go sport fishing and so on. Somebody in America decide, well, it's not sport fishing they're doing, they're trading in drugs. Ask no questions, just shoot them. That, for me, is the biggest threat to the development of Tobago, because Tobago has no future in beach tourism. Beach tourism will work, but remember what it does is that it gives you a Jamaica. They make $5,300 US per person per year from beach tourism, with 2 to 5 million tourists coming in there, right? When you ramp up in the Jamaican direction, you ain't going nowhere. If you want to go anywhere, you have to do the long stay tourism. And the long stay tourism will be the anchor of that whole yachting and sport fishing exercise. So when you are thinking of the development of Tobago, that is not consistent with the policy approach adopted by Trinidad. And the Chief Secretary needs to say to the Prime Minister, as a matter of urgency, come, let's talk. The law provides for us to sit down and talk about what's in the best interest of the country, including Tobago. There's a clause, I think it's section 42 or something like that in the THA Act, that says they have to sit down and talk. And if they have to sit down and talk, I would raise that as a priority issue, that national policy needs to pay attention to the interests of Tobago. You may not think about it because you're betting on oil and gas in Trinidad, but we have to bet on long stay tourism, including development of yachting and sport fishing and all those things. And we need due process at work. We can't afford a maverick cowboy from America to be running around in the Caribbean just shooting down people and asking no questions. And if they ask them after the shooting.
Understood. Well, Dr. James Jones, thank you so much for your time this morning and bringing clarity.
We had a good session this morning, didn't we?
We always do.
Okay.
Right? I want to thank you, and I hope to see you again very soon. Guys, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back with much more conversation right after this. See you soon.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers, we are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying Tobago.
Take your shot with Junior K.
Always with the introductions, as you see. And of course, we're on television. Big up to my boy Saki. We just complete.
I saw that. So we didn't have a choice. We had to call it.
Good. So, Carnival.
I say, warn them. Hey, I get to know.
Baba boy, don't run. Me God, we are the last man.
Alright,
You got a drink, bro? Drinking liars.
Enjoy Take Your Shot on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and share.
I send in a big, 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 big dirty bun for you.
Better than them.
And I have a big, 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 big dirty bun for you. So you better don't run. Come back on, me say don't run. Good morning, Bacchanal. How do you do? It's very critical. Talk to you, but it's a long, 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 long road. I'm going on, and I need somebody to me life. I stay strong. Bless me with you, carnival is my time.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. This morning we continue our conversations and we are chatting with Lismoy McKenzie, who is the Corporate Communications Officer at OPM CAST. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So this morning we're talking about the Republic Day celebrations that's happening up at Roxborough. Tell us about all that we can expect tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning to all of viewers. Tomorrow we celebrate our 49th year as a republic here in Trinidad and Tobago. And in Tobago in specific, we are celebrating the 7th annual Republic Day Route March, Reception and Awards Ceremony, which is usually concentrated in Tobago East, specifically in the community of Roxborough. So here where we have a military route march, it's 2.1 miles in length, and it usually begins at Lamy Road in Argyle and heads straight up to Prince Street, Roxborough, and then circles back down to the Sid Gray Stadium in Roxborough.
Excellent. And so for all the persons who were confused about whether there would be a march or not, it's on. Everything is on tomorrow.
It is on. We have been given very clear instructions to proceed with plans as usual. So persons can look forward to what is usually expected in that area. The route march, the military route march, it marches off at exactly 9 a.m. from Lamy Road. But we are asking residents and visitors to line the route before from as early as 8, where we will be distributing tokens and paraphernalia so that we can cheer on the detachments as they march along, displaying our national pride, celebrating 49 years as a republic.
Excellent. But this is not all that's expected from tomorrow. There's actually a whole day of celebrations that's happening, and that's going from early in the morning. You have the 3K and 5K run, and then you're having that regatta, you're having music, all of that. Tell us about how the agenda is running? If persons want to come up to partake in the run, what time does that start?
All right. Well, the Tobago House of Assembly, they are the ones responsible for the run, and they have put out a calendar of events, and we are collaborating. So usually we would have the route march at 9. So their activities will stop at that point to facilitate the route march. And then from the route march, we have what is usually done at the Delaford Community Center. We have the reception for those who participated in the route march and the awards ceremony. The awards ceremony is usually geared towards celebrating and promoting the talents of those groups and persons within Tobago East. So at that reception, we would be distributing those awards as well. After which, all the other planned activities will roll out right into the cultural show and the fireworks, which will happen later on in the evening.
Right. And so there are other things that are happening. There's the cultural show and fireworks, as you indicated, and that would be happening from 8:30 p.m. And so just so that persons know, that 3K and 5K run will be happening from 6 a.m. actually. So if you want to participate in that, there's cycling, there's the aerobics, there's a cultural procession that would be happening. So if that's something that you are interested in being a part of, you can go to the Office of the Chief Secretary's page on Facebook, and you'll get all the information on the entire rundown. Why is it important for persons to really come out and celebrate and be a part of this Republic Day celebration?
Republic Day celebrations are really geared towards celebrating, I would say, our national pride. And so persons are asked to come out to celebrate, display your patriotism as we display and put on show our national pride. We have all our military persons, armed and unarmed, coming out also to display their military precision and national pride. So it's particularly interesting for children and families to come out and participate and experience such a celebration.
Excellent. And this is something that you really don't want to miss. You want to come out, you want to be a part of it, wear your red, white, and black.
Red, white, and black. And we are also, remember, coming out to give you your little flags and your paraphernalia. It's also important to note that those persons particularly interested in the route march, the road, that main road in Roxborough, will be closed off from 8:30 a.m. to facilitate the route march. So if you're interested in viewing the route march, you would have to get into Roxborough before 8:30 before they close off that roadway. Right, the Chief Secretary is expected to take the salute at Sid Gray's Stadium.
Right. And so for the persons that are coming up, where do they park when they get up to Roxborough?
I know that there is, we have police officers engaged, and they would actually direct as to where public parking is assigned. I know that there's VIP parking and different classes of parking that is assigned, but police officers will be along the route and will direct persons that are there and in looking for park.
Excellent. And we just want to remind persons that there's a lot that's happening tomorrow. So if you're looking for something to do, you want to celebrate, or if you are on the island and you're not from Tobago, this is something that you want to be a part of. Come and see how Tobago celebrates Republic Day. And as I indicated, the celebrations start at 6 a.m. It kicks off at 6 a.m. with that 3K and 5K run that's happening. Then there's the cycling competition at 7 a.m. Aerobics happening as well. So just in case running might not be your thing and you might be a little bit more into aerobics, that's happening as well. There's a cultural procession. There's the route march that's happening at 9. And so persons should be gathered along that way from 8 a.m. And then they go straight off into that cultural the award ceremony.
The award ceremony, which is scheduled to happen at the Delaford Community Center.
Excellent. And from there, you go straight over to the cultural procession, the regatta. So whatever is your choice of celebration, you have a lot to choose from. But that route march is going to be starting off at Lamy Road.
At Lamy Road in Argyle, proceeding east up to Prince Street, that is where the jetty is, and circle back down to Sid Gray Stadium, and they break off at the car park there.
Excellent. So you don't want to enter into Roxborough in the middle of the march. So be sure to get up there before 8 a.m. Line the streets, get your t-shirts, get your cups, whatever it is that they're giving.
Snacks for children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to be a part of that. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So guys, this is your reminder that tomorrow is your day to celebrate Republic Day here in Tobago. We want to thank you so much for being a part of this morning's discussions. Thank you so much for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and have a great day.
Rise up to a brand new dawn, and as the passion starter.